as we welcome in head coach Mike Puorro. Coach, 18 wins this season. That's a school record. Also into the second round, the third round, really the semifinals of the South Jersey playoffs in Group 2 for the first time in school history as well. Really a breakthrough year for you guys. What got it done? Because I know you had a young group.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Mike. I think coming into the season, I think the kids were hungry. I think, after a while, you kind of get sick of losing, and it's kind of like, what else can we do to make ourselves better, to make the team better? And I thought we had one of the best summers when it comes to attendance and getting guys in the gym working out 3 days a week. We hosted a team camp for 4 days, having 10 to 12 different schools from both the Shore Conference and outside the Shore Conference. We went away to Albright for 3 days and just got away from Barnegat a little bit and got to do things together. And I think that led into the season of guys being healthy, fresh, excited. I don't think everybody thought the expectations were going to be what the results ended up being, but everybody was very surprised with how things went.
I know fans that cover or really follow the Cape Atlantic League aren't going to be familiar with a lot of your players, but certainly they're going to get to know a guy by the name of Mike Ravello next season because he's a junior this year. He's going to be back for a senior season. He's a guy who scored better than 16 points a game for you this year, closing in on 1,000 points as well. I mean, you want to talk about a program guy. How nice is it as a coach to have a guy like that to sort of build the program around, certainly for his 4 years?
I mean, he's a special player, and I think first and foremost he's a special kid. I think the things that Mike brings to the table are things that are hard to coach. His work ethic is second to none. There's no one in the gym that outworks him. He's always doing things that a coach wants a player to do. And I think the most important thing that kind of separates Mike from other kids, not only on our team or within the Shore Conference, is he makes the guys around him better. And that's not something that you see that sticks out in a box score, but he's able to help guys like Carson Francisco score 13 a game. He's able to get open shots for Alex Groen on the perimeter. He's able to give dump-down layups to a couple of our big, Sean Morris or Parth Patel. Like, he's able to do those type of things that don't always lead to assists or points scored or rebounds, but it's just little things that takes pressure off guys to allow them to excel as well.
I mean, you want to talk about building a program. If I'm not mistaken, right, Mike would become the first boy player ever at Barnegat to hit 1,000 career points?
That's correct. I mean, there was one girl that had done it, and there's been nobody since. So Mike has an opportunity next year to be the first boy ever. And I think when it's all said and done, Mike has the opportunity to go down as, a basketball player that Barnegat, will not see in quite some time. I mean, he's on pace to not only, become the all-time leading scorer in boys basketball, but, he'll be the all-time assist leader, steals leader, three-pointers made. I mean, the list goes on and on for the type of accomplishments that Mike will, achieve throughout his 4 years.
Checking in with Mike Puorro right now, head coach of the Barnegat Bengals here on the South Jersey Sports Report. Again, Barnegat school record, 18 wins. A couple of them, Mike, obviously coming in the South Jersey Group 2 playoffs, and you guys had a couple home games there, and you took care of a couple teams from Cape May County. First it was Cape May Tech, and then it was Lower Cape May. Some really good players on both of those teams. How were you guys able to get it done? Obviously, home court advantage never hurts.
Well, I think, opening night when, Josh Wright, I think, is a phenomenal athlete. I think he's a phenomenal basketball player. And the things that he's been able to do for Cape May Tech is really amazing, especially for him only being a sophomore. And so, we knew from the get-go our plan was to find a way to limit, him scoring. And I'll be honest, I thought we did a pretty good job, and he still scored 27 points, and that's scary to say. But I think us coming out so hot in the first quarter, I mean, I think Mike kind of showed how good of a player he really was that opening quarter where he scored 17 in the first quarter on 5 threes. He finished the game with 38 points. And I think that kind of set the tone as to what, we planned on doing that postseason. And it was from our leader. And that's kind of, as a coach, what you expect your best player to do opening night. And then the second game, we were down a little bit at halftime to Lower Cape May. And Pat Holden's a very good basketball player. He's crafty. We just kind of switched things up in the second half. My assistant made a recommendation on putting a bigger guy on him to kind of make it a little more difficult. We went with that adjustment, and a sophomore, Brian Finucane, stepped up and really, locked down Pat in the second half and made things a little more difficult. And then we made plays. Sean Morris was huge in the second half, Carson Francisco, and, Mike just capped it off with a few free throws down the stretch.
The run, of course, ends for Barnegat in the South Jersey semifinals, and no shame there, because when you go up against Camden, the run has ended for everyone that's gone in there over the last 5 years. But obviously a tough place to play, and a little footnote in history, Coach, obviously, is Barnegat the second to last team to ever play there, aside from Haddonfield in the South Jersey final. But what did you take away from that loss against Camden? Obviously, Camden, you're talking about a top 5 team in South Jersey year after year after year, but I know you guys were competitive in that game, certainly for most of it. So what did you take away? What did you say to your group after that loss to Camden in the playoffs?
Oh, that I was proud of them. I mean, the fact that, it was a basketball game. I mean, I know the score might not indicate, when you look at it, the final score is 50-30 and you say you lost by 20, but if you actually watched the game or you watched or looked at the box score, it was a basketball game. I mean, we were tied after the first quarter. We were down 9 going into halftime, only down 11 going into the fourth. In the middle of the fourth quarter, we're still down 10 with 4.5 to go. We just stopped making a few shots that we had opportunities to make. And listen, I give them credit. They're big, they're athletic, they're strong, and they've been in that type of situation before in games and like that. That's the first time we've ever been there, and I was very cautiously optimistic, I guess you could say, as to what we would do entering that type of atmosphere. With all the storied history in that place, the packed gym, just the environment, I was kind of worried about how we'd take to it. And from the first day, our kids never backed down from a challenge. They always played extremely hard, and that was always something I said I could never take away from them, because we came every single night, we fought, we battled, we grinded. Sometimes the results were what they were, but we fought.
Obviously, success brings more expectations, Coach, and you know that. And, Camden's not going anywhere. The Haddonfields of the world are not going anywhere in South Jersey Group 2. But, how do you build off of this? 18 wins this year. I know you return your entire starting 5. So what are some realistic goals for Barnegat next year?
Well, I think it would be, in a sense, it would be a failure if we didn't get to where we got this year. I think everybody's expectations are to exceed what we did this year. And just being in the conversation with Haddonfield and Camden, is a good thing for us this year. That's kind of like, okay, that's a stepping stone for where we want to go. But now for us, it's to put the work in now again in the off season, just like we did last year, with the goal in mind that we want to beat them, or, we want to play that game at home and see what it's like on our turf. So I think the expectations have now changed. I think the process of changing the culture here is expedited. I think we thought maybe we can get this in 5 years, and the fact that we've done it in 3, now entering our 4th year, it's kind of, fun. And I think this is where you want to make sure you put the added effort into it, because when you have Camden come into your gym, or you go back into Camden or Haddonfield, you want to make sure the score is flipped and not what it was last year, especially basically our whole team comes back next year. Our whole program comes back. We have 32 kids in the program, counting freshmen through JV, through varsity, and 30 of those guys come back. So I think the depth that we'll have next year compared to what we have this year is helpful, and we're encouraged about what we got going on.
Well, an outstanding year from the Barnegat boys basketball team, 18 wins, and again, an appearance in the South Jersey Group 2 semifinals there. Mike, always great catching up, my friend. That's Mike Puorro, head coach of Barnegat. We'll check in again next year. Have a great summer, spring and summer until then, and be good.
Thanks, Mike. You too.
All right, Mike Puorro, head coach of the Barnegat Bengals.